Biological evolution. Question that we're going to be trying to answer is, how do scientists use evidence from a wide variety of sources to determine evolutionary relationships? Now, something to think about before we get started. Think about how similar you are to a number of familiar organisms. If you look around, I know you're familiar with your family, obviously, and with your best friend and other humans. But look at some of the similarities we have with other living things. Okay? Um, Immediately, we can think of monkeys or gorillas, but we have commonalities with horses or even geese, right? Living organisms, the way our body functions, there's a lot of similar characteristics. So, in order to get into this too far, we need to first understand what exactly we're talking about. Now, by definition, biological evolution is the change in inherited traits over successive generations in populations of organisms. Adaptation is a key evolutionary process in which variation in the fitness of traits and species are adjusted by natural selection to become better suited for survival in specific ecological habitats. Now, you're probably thinking, what in the world was all of that? And I don't blame you. So let's break it down a little bit. Okay? It's really not that complicated. When we think about biology or biological, it is the study of or related to living things or organisms. That's why your biology class, we talk about living things. Now, evolution or to evolve simply means to change over time. So, when we're talking about biological evolution, it is just talking about how living things have changed over a period of time. That's all it is. Now, as we move ahead, you're related in some way to your best friend, believe it or not. You're both human. You're both descended from common ancestor sometime in the distant past. That's not a guess. It is a certainty. But how about being related to a gorilla in a Ugandan forest or an orangutan hanging from a tree somewhere in Borneo? Yes, you are related to them as well. That seems reasonable. After all, they look and sometimes behave a lot like humans. But are you related to a snail or a shark or even an oak tree? Could you be related to now extinct dinosaurs or fossilized worms? Well, it may come as a bit of a shock, but the answer is yes. The orangutan is a relatively close relative. This baby orangutan looks a lot like you, and yet he is also different. Why does it have these similarities and differences? Okay? All living things on earth are your relatives. I'll repeat that. All living things on earth are your relatives. Very, very distant relatives, but all of them descended from one common ancestor at the very start of life on our planet. This is perhaps one of the most exciting aspects of science and is supported by a huge body of incontrovertible evidence that placed evolution at the very heart of modern biology. You are part of a great tree of life.
From the ashes of destruction, new life begins to sprout. 60 million years ago, fruit ripens on the trees. Packed full of nutrients, the more fruit we eat, the longer we live. We leave solid ground for a new life in the trees. a new world, demands a new body. We've come a long way from that first single cell. Now, at last, we're beginning to glimpse a family resemblance. We're Altiatlasius, one of the first members of a new group of mammals, the primates. By 56 million years ago, we've adapted to our world. But that world is about to change again. Over 10 million years, extreme temperature shifts ravage the forests. Forests get smaller. Food gets harder to reach. Natural selection intervenes again. Our tail shrinks back to the base of the spine, where it stays, as the coccyx, a reminder of our days spent leaping through the trees. Instead of leaping, we stretch. Our arms grow long and flexible. Changing temperatures changed our ancestors, and us, forever. But the planet's not finished yet. Deep underground, the African and Arabian plates pull apart. The land between them drops to form the East African Rift Valley. Along its edge, a 3,500-mile-long mountain chain rises up. Rains from the Indian Ocean once watered all of Africa. Now the mountains block their path. The trees get even further apart, the food harder to reach. We're starving, desperate. 4.4 million years ago, the will to survive that's driven us from a single cell in the ocean to a complex primate in the forests of Africa is about to make us do something extraordinary.
Now, I know that's a little hard to grasp, all right? But the age of mammals came after the age of the dinosaurs. But how did primates evolve, and what does that have to do with you? Right? If we look at a few of the more recent branches of that tree, the branches that represent the story of human evolution is the tree that we're talking about. Our ideas about the human family tree are constantly being modified as new information is uncovered. Paleontologists from all over the world are constantly finding new human like fossils. Geneticists are examining the human genome from traditional peoples around the world, trying to trace their origin and their journey from Africa, where they most likely evolved. They are also looking for adaptations that have evolved to meet the challenges of different environments and comparing those adaptations to those of other animals. Archaeologists are examining ancient sites looking for cultural connects. They use rock art, stone tool design, and other artifacts to trace the human line back to the very origin of our species. Now, this image is of a primate cladogram or a tree of life. Right? This is where, when we talk about family trees, this is kind of where it all originates. So, humans rose from an ancestral primate that produces a number of different lines. Which one led to the humans? Well, if we follow it along, we'll see that each one branches, and as we progress, right, we go from the New World monkeys, we have the Old World monkeys, it comes up here, we have the gibbons, and then we have the orangutans, and then we have the gorillas, All right. And we have the chimpanzees and then the humans. All right. So this is the chain or the branches of the tree that led us to where we are. Okay. We know that around 6 million years ago, the human lineage split from the lineage to which chimpanzees belong. This human lineage, the hominins, gave rise to its own family tree, of which we are but one tip of one branch. Okay, so the split right here continues, right? The hominids go this way, the chimpanzees, primates stayed on this side, and that's where we stay separated. But again, the important part is we are one very small tip of just one branch. Early human evolution took place in East Africa. In fact, many scientists think the evolution of humans owes a lot to a changing, drier climate in East Africa. This drying climate led to a decrease in forest cover. This open forest or savanna niche was ideally suited to a bipedal. And the ape, bipeds are on 2 feet. One of the earliest of these hominins was Ardipithecus ramidus. It was a small biped with features that lie between arboreal and terrestrial apes. Later, bigger, truly terrestrial hominins evolved. These terrestrial hominins belong to the genus Australopithecus. These Australopithecines walked Earth about 4 million years ago. The most famous member of this genus belongs to a more recent species, Australopithecus afarensis. This is a skeleton known as Lucy. Australopithecines eventually became extinct. Some of their ancestors evolved into a new genus, the genus Homo, which includes modern humans. This image is of some hominid skulls from East Africa. From right to left, they are the Australopithecus africanus, and then the Australopithecus boisei, and Homo erectus, which one most closely resembles a human skull. Looking at those, which one do you think most resembles a human skull? Hopefully, you are thinking the one on the right. So, about 2 million years ago, our ancestors began to make primitive stone tools. By 1.5 million years ago, these human species had spread through Africa and Eurasia. They were making and using hand axes. These humans included at least two species, Homo neanderthalensis in Europe and Homo erectus in Asia. Arriving later on the scene from Africa was a third species, Homo sapiens, modern humans. These first humans that lived on Earth around 100,000 years ago were the same species as you and me. This is the Galapagos marine iguana. I don't know how familiar you are with Charles Darwin. We will get into his contributions to evolution a little bit later, but he did a lot of studies around the Galapagos Islands. So this marine iguana is found only in the Galapagos Islands. In the world's, it is the world's only lizard that feeds on marine vegetation. So consider this. What evidence did scientists use to determine that the marine iguana is related to a species of land iguana from South America? All right, time to show what you know. So here you're going to open the Google Doc that is attached to the assignment. You'll answer the questions, upload the file when you are finished, and you will be done. Good luck.